Hello, everyone. How are you all? Hope you've had a really good week. I hope you are encouraged. You are, just beaming with light and love and, knowing the presence of God surrounds you and He's with you every minute of the day. And he's one that's for you and not against you. So I'm going to continue with our series on the indicators of leveling up spiritually. Who enjoyed last week's? Did you get? Please tell me you're getting some gold out of this. So we're going to. Sorry, Todd.
I got gold out of it. Thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. All right, well, we're going to continue with that. So we'll just do a quick recap. So last week, I talked about curiosity of the spirit, that great inner peace that starts to happen as you're leveling up spiritually. And then your sense of purpose starts to come into play. And then increased compassion and empathy. So, when you're leveling up, the hunger for truth and for God increases, and your overall awareness of your surroundings. So let's just touch on that for a minute. It's you're becoming more aware of frequencies, of energies, of entities. You're becoming increasing in your intuition and your discernment as you are leveling up spiritually. And, a lot of people will refer it as your gut feeling. Now, there are teachings where they tell you to dismiss your gut or, don't go by your feelings. Has anyone ever been taught that? Oh, you shouldn't go by your feelings. No, your feelings play a very important part in, the wholeness of who you are and how you connect with God and how you discern. It's all part and parcel. We've got to come away from separation in the sense of, we put God over here and we put us here, and then we put us, our spirit is separate, our soul is separate, and our body is separate. It's not. It is all part and parcel. And we've got to learn to work with the completeness of us and the completeness of God. This is where we marry and come in union. This is where we come into that, beautiful, intimate relationship with the one true God. And when you connect with Him, you come into the one true you. This is where we don't live by default, we start to live by design. So when we start to become more aware of our surroundings, it's like, and there's a number of things that happen to this. So one of them is you're picking up what other people are feeling, where they're at, what their agenda is, what's really going on in their heart. Now, some people will say, oh, you can't do that. Well, I'm going to go to the reference scripturally. That's exactly what Jesus did. He could read the intent of the heart around him. So this is where we've got to. Sorry, Mel, can you just put yourself on silent, please? Thank you. So this is where we're growing in that awareness. And part of that is also where we're talking about what a lot of people, oh, wasn't that a coincidence? Now, when you're tapped in and know that God is controlling your life in the sense of he's in it with you, not controlling you, but in it with you, that you're partnering with him. It's, we have meaningful coincidences. In other words, you might meet someone and go, well, that was really random. No, it's not random. How many of you experienced thinking about someone that you haven't seen for years, and then 2 weeks later you bump into them?
Your earbuds?
Or they call you, or they they come up in conversation. That's not a coincidence. That is the Spirit leading you into the awareness of what's happening around you. And when you lean into that, you start to get more information. When you start to let your awareness increase, it's like, God will tell you to go down the shops, and you're like, well, I don't need to go down the shops. And it's like, yeah, but I want you to go down the shop. You're like, listen to that, guys. There's so many times God has told me to do something, and I'm like, well, I don't really need to go down the shops. He goes, go down the shops. I'm in the car, I'm going down the shops. And all of a sudden I'll bump into someone and have this incredible conversation that is life-changing for them and for me. So these are the things that we want to grow in. And that's leveling up also in your relationship and in the spirit, because you're listening to that intuition. You're listening to that guidance. So a lot of people, say, oh, Dot, I can't hear in the spirit, or I don't understand. I don't get how it is that you are in the spirit. Like when you say, but you're in the spirit. I want to talk to you a little bit on the intuition and your gut feeling. So as most of you are aware, the foods that we eat have been polluted, and they have been done so for a purpose, and that is to shut you down spiritually. So a lot of the foods that we eat, particularly the wheat is a big thing. Anything packaged, it's got a lot of different modifications. It's got toxins in it. Like, really, if you read the labels, it's like it's not for human consumption. And there's a lot more talk about this aspect. So it's really important to realize the connection between your gut health and how it affects your spirit, how it affects you, how it shuts you down. And it's like, I know that there are foods that I cannot eat because I know that they affect me, not only physically, but spiritually. It's like if you eat something and you feel really tired after it, or you don't, you're just really lethargic, or you feel, it can also make you feel depressed because you just, that's so heavy. That can be connected to a food that you are eating that your body is struggling to digest. Now, for me, I can't eat wheat, not the wheats that they have produced in this day and age. It shuts me down. It feels heavy. It makes me put on weight because my body's trying to get rid of the toxins. So it stores it somewhere so it doesn't go to the organs. Now, I'm not a health practitioner, so I'm not going to touch too much on that. But I'm just going to put up in the chat just quickly a new membership aspect where we are coordinating gut health and spirituality. and it's not going to work for me. Where do I put this? Really quickly. Nope. So Jenny, if you could put this up, it's chc88.net. So I'm just bringing a bit of awareness here for you guys. So chc88.net. And this is what we're doing there is we're teaching people about gut health, but also some of the things that you need to help bring your gut health back into alignment. Thank you. So feel free to go and have a look at that. And there's weekly emails. It's really good information in the sense that it is really makes sense. All the different things that are coming out, it makes sense. It's like, oh, that the markets here in Australia, people are putting concoctions together, peddling them as health, but they're actually not. They're actually, the mixtures of what they've put together don't work together. So that's enough on that. Let's get back to increasing, understanding your awareness of your surroundings. So when you feel, you can feel God ride on what happens for me is God rides on a conversation. And, I stop and I go, oh, wow, God's all over that. So that people are aware of what's happening in the situation. And what's really interesting is when I say that, they start to feel the presence of God as well. Because all of a sudden they're going, oh, wow, yes, I can feel that too. It's engaging them into your world of your understanding and your sense of knowing that God is involved in your conversations. And the conversation has life on it, guys. It's encouraging, it's uplifting, it's, you have words of comfort or words of wisdom to someone, and they go, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that. This is all indicators of you leveling up spiritually. You're growing in your relationship with God. You're growing in your intuition and your discernment. And so I want to encourage you, like sometimes we dismiss the little things that are indicators, they're encouragement. Because sometimes we are taught through religion, unless you're on a platform and speaking to thousands of people, you don't have any influence. And that's not true. That's another lie. In your everyday circumstance and situations, you can bring change. You can bring the presence and the power of God. It says in scripture in Colossians, it says, God didn't come just in word. He came in power. And often, can I say that a lot of people that are Bible versed, all they do is quote scripture. That's all they do. Every conversation is with this, but the word says this and the word says that, but there's no power behind it. I'm always hungry to see the power and the presence of God released so that it can be life-changing. It can bring solutions. And that's part of a lot of our conversations here, guys, is about embracing that power. And that power is within you. So another, and also let me just tap in here a minute. When you become aware of those meaningful coincidences, it actually dispels the lie that God only works sometimes. because he's involved with our everyday circumstance and situations. So, you know, this cements the absolutes of God that we've talked about before. In other words, it's not a hit and miss. It is a continual momentum of connection in the spirit to God, regardless of how you feel and regardless of even how you think. Because this is where, again, we've been taught, you know, unless we're doing certain things or behaving a certain way, God's not in it or God's not with you. We need to dispel that. And isn't it interesting, the word dispel, disassociate with the spell. We need to dispel the lies that we have been programmed under. So this morning is a meaningful connection. It's not a coincidence that you're here. And I know most of you here with me every week. You must love it, which is great. So, you know, it's not a coincidence, guys. You are being directed by this very presence of God, the heart of God, to come in and glean from my experiences. And then it's a choice of whether you take it and embrace it. If it resonates with your spirit, if it resonates with your heart, then that's a truth for you. If something doesn't resonate, don't worry about it. This is where that, you know, we're aware of frequencies and energies. We're aware of life on words. And this is where, you know, we're aware of where words carry death and destruction. And there's a greater awareness happening. And this is all leveling up in the spirit, all leveling up into our connection with God. And this also, you know, your insight into where people are at starts to increase as well. Right? This is another sign of leveling up. And in the sense of you feel what other people are going through. You feel that they have a heavy heart. You feel that they're, you know, feeling really sad, or they're, you know, got grief. And don't be afraid to just, you know, let someone know that you are feeling what they are feeling or what they're going through. This is where our empathy and our compassion starts to rise and increase. And we talked about that last week. And then as you start to develop this, guess what happens, guys? Increase in your confidence begins. It's like you're hearing God and you're moving with him. So your sense of confidence in hearing his heart and his will for you increases. And so you start to move with that more and more. It becomes more, you become more in tune to that. And it's like I'm breaking it down, but a lot of this happens all, you know, simultaneously. It's about being aware of it. So, you know, realizations of who you are, and you're taking responsibility for that is all part and parcel. Knowing of the increase of your authority. Now think about that for a minute. Where we have been told we are powerless, we become powerful. You start to rise up in your confidence and your sense of authority. Now, I'm not talking about ego and agenda here. I'm talking about your spiritual authority. And you are, you know, you see an increase of your decrees and declarations. You see being answered. You see your petitions not in a sense of begging, but God, this needs your attention. How do we work with this in this situation? What's your heart in this situation? It starts to increase and you become confident, and then your authority starts to rise. And who you are in the spirit, the reputation of who you are in the spirit starts to increase. Now, think about that for a minute. Now, guys, I went through a season where as I started to rise in my authority, people were reacting to me and not in a nice way. And I was like, what's going on? I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done wrong? And you will ruffle feathers. You don't do it intentionally, but who you are will ruffle feathers. Now, I'll share a story with you. This just happened last week. A friend of, I live in a shared house situation, right? I have my own area, but we have a shared backyard. I was hanging out my washing, and this young girl that was visiting was out on the grass. And I said, hi, how are you? Having a chat to her. And she's like, yeah, I'm good. Oh, yeah, this is a really pretty area. And we're just having a little bit of chit chat. And I was like, okay, well, have a great day. I walked back into my place. She went back into the other half of the house and then said to my daughter, oh my God, what the heck? I felt like she was reading my soul. And I didn't do anything. I just said hello to her. And she was a bit freaked out by it. And guys, when my daughter told me, I was like, I just said hello to her. So, don't underestimate the atmosphere and the influence that you carry. Please don't dismiss yourself, and that will be your demise. Don't think that you have no value or no influence or, no contribution, no purpose. We all have purpose and contribution and influence. It's, you know what? It's up to us to decide how much that comes into play. This is where free will always comes into place. And there isn't punishment for it. God wants to work with us because we want to work with him. He doesn't want to work with us if we feel that we have to. Where is the relationship in that? It becomes a dogma, which is what has been taught. If you don't do this, then God's going to get you. Let's just shake that tree and let's chop that tree down, actually. God is for us. He is with us. And, when we've got to break out of this judgment and criticism of those that aren't on what we would deem the same page, because everyone is at a different learning and a different growth level. And God is moving on their behalf as much as he's moving on ours. So this is where we create space for them. And again, I've got to say, this is exactly what, the representation of Jesus on the earth, that's exactly what he did. He didn't condemn the sinners. He didn't condemn the adulterer. He embraced her and had a conversation with her and changed her life through that conversation. It wasn't, okay, now go and say 3 Hail Marys and 10 Our Fathers, go to confession and confess, go and get baptized, go and have communion. He didn't do any of that. He had a simple conversation that changed her life and even changed the direction of her life. So this is, again, we're growing in leveling up when we are not criticizing and judging everything and everyone. It's like this change of attitude comes into our hearts where we're not doom and gloom and negative, but we have hope and we have life, and we're presenting that to the world. And that's all part of leveling up. That's all part of growing in your spirit and in your relationship with God. So, these are the indicators of your growth, your relationship with God. And it's only because let me explain it this way. We're already in the fullness when we connect with God. It's our mindsets and our emotions that need to come in agreement with the things of the Spirit. So we're already healed and whole and perfect in the Spirit. It's our mind, will, and emotions that need to come into balance. And that's our journey, guys. That is continually our journey. And that's why when a bad attitude rises up, or that little, we all get it. Don't bury it. It's shown its face for a reason. So then let's deal with it. Just by acknowledging, I got a bad attitude right now. Or what's that little God? Like, what's that about? Why have I got that little Guys, we all do it. And let him show you what the root of that is. And that as you grow in your spiritual being, you start to get quicker at recognizing it. Some people walk around with a bad attitude for months, even years. And it doesn't have to be like that. It just needs that little switch of, hang on a minute, let's just let go of that. And let God heal what needs to be healed. This is we're talking about your relationship with God. No one can tell you how to have a relationship with God. You are originals, right? And that's why I can't buy into this, past life conversations. I don't get it. And I tell people openly, I don't get that I've had to live all these lives to come back and try and get this right. I've tried to look for proof of it and I can't find it. I think it's just another lie, because what it does is it tells people, oh, well, if you don't get it right this time, you'll come back and you can get it right next time. It's an excuse. And to me, an excuse is a lie that you tell yourself. So, I just don't see that God is that limited that he has to recycle us. It doesn't make sense. And if you want to go to scripture for that, where it says, God's thoughts towards you as individuals, not us, you, me, outnumber the grains of sand on the beach. So I just can't see that God is that limited that he has to recycle us, guys. I believe that, we are so unique, and God knows how we each function. He knows how to connect with you where you're at. He understands your personality. He understands how you are wired. He understands the circumstances that you were born in, and the understands the family life and the culture that you were created in or programmed in. He gets all of that. And he is so good at working around those things. He really is. And, I feel that sometimes we try to do God's job. We're trying to change people by telling them what we think, when really it's not about what we think, it's about what God thinks. And this is all part and parcel of the change of our mindsets, the way that we think. I'll give you another example of how you know that you are leveling up spiritually. Things that once upon a time used to tick you off don't tick you off as much or at all. These are indicators of your life changing, of you growing, of you coming into greater awareness, and and being more hungry for the increase of the truth of God and truth for your life. These are all indicators. And guys, sometimes it's good to sit down, and I know not many of us do this, and reflect. That contemplation of what you once were and what you are now. How you've changed. Some of you have just been consistently in a really good headspace. There doesn't need to be a lot of change. Some of us need lots of change. But it's good to reflect. I sit down and I look at my life and I thank God. I thank him. I go, wow, God, look where you've brought me. Look at the beautiful things that you've done. Look at the amazing things that you've given me. I've seen how he's developed me to express him more and more in a beautiful and loving way. Because that's the work that he's done in me. And not everyone will know it. Not everyone is aware of it, but it's good to take that time to contemplate the growth that he has done, his hand that has worked on your behalf. Reflect on the times that he has saved you. Oh my gosh, how many times has God saved me from myself? He is well able in doing that. And that's part of leveling up spiritually, growing in your awareness and that connection. I'm going to stop there for a minute. Is there anyone that's got questions? Anybody want to share anything?
You can unmute yourselves.
No, you're all good. You're all traveling good.
I'll say something. It's
Please.
Yeah. So when you were talking about how people, when people are going to, or you get this feeling, you think about somebody and then they all of a sudden show up. That happens to me quite often. But now that you even say it, the fact that you're saying it, I'm starting to like, wow, that really does mean something. And then when you said that your daughter's friend felt like you read them, that's interesting to me. I would love for you to expand on that, kind of like in a relatable way. What does it feel like? anything like that?
Well, see, my life has been a bit like this. Either people love me or they don't. And I'm like, but I don't do anything wrong. Like, I don't understand it. I feel I'm a really likable person. And I feel that I'm a really relatable person. And and I'm like, have I got a misconception of who I am? But God started showing me who I am in the spirit realm. It happens in the unseen realm. So if people have, say, entities, or they have, which was in this particular case, that entity gets uncomfortable. So to protect the host that they are in, they will cause that host to feel uncomfortable and move out of the situation. So I've had to learn to not take it personally, because I used to take it really personally, and I couldn't understand it until God had this great conversation with me and started showing me. Because I would cry. I was like, I don't know what I do wrong, like I just want to be everyone's friend. And it really hurt me. And God's going, it's not you. It's what you carry. It's the presence of God on your life. And I'm even dismissing. I'm going, yeah, but what does that look like? Because we're not seen in the unseen realm. And so the journey for me was learning how to work with that. So now I work really hard in the spirit to make people feel comfortable. Now people come up to me and they say, I feel safe with you, Dot. So there was some shifts in that aspect of what I carry, the gifting that I've got on my life. And we all have giftings, guys, but it's understanding what you carry, and then also, working with it. And the most important thing is the love, coming from a heart of love. That's when people will feel safe. Now, that entity could not handle that frequency. Now, I would have loved to have sat down with that girl and brought some healing to her life, because that's why the entity is attached to her. But that opportunity never happened. So we got some hands now on that one. Okay. Alexa, you put your hand up first, darling. Alexandra? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Hi,
Yes, darling. Hi.
good morning. So yeah, the one that you talked about when people react funny to you, I've had that a lot as well, and yeah, it's very helpful what you're saying, and
Oh,
also
good.
maybe connected together with what you said in not the previous, but the one before about letting God move,
Yep.
whatever needs to be moved in people.
Yep. Yep.
Is that
Yep.
a also useful thing to do if you feel that you haven't done anything wrong, but someone is having a reaction to you?
See,
What's the better
okay.
approach?
Yep, I understand the question. So, if you're in a situation where they're really squirming and they can't walk away, you can just release peace onto them. You don't have to say it out loud, but you can change the atmosphere around them. You can just release peace onto them. And then, you'll find that they'll either warm to you, or they'll, stay on the other side of the room. And that's their choice. Okay. So it's really, we need to be more and more discerning on why people are reacting to us. And also realizing that it's not always them. We are dealing with entities, we're dealing with different energies, frequencies, and that's why as you're leveling up, you start to discern that. And you can actually start to speak into it before they even get a chance to react. So then you can calm it. And it doesn't always have to be a verbal word. The most of the stuff that I do is in the unseen realm. So that's where you can bring change. And it's really simple. It's just like, I just release in your heart. Or if you need to go somewhere, if you need to speak it out, go somewhere and go, I just release peace right now into this situation. And you could be in a situation. I used to be a youth worker, and I used to, work in a house where we had very 4 to 6 very dysfunctional children of different ages. I mean, it's horrible how the residential care works in society. It really is heartbreaking. But when I used to walk, before I walk into work, I would just release peace over the house. And I would decree and declare that we would have a good day. So my reputation as a youth worker, guys, was that I had the least incidents. In other words, the kids did not act up because I would bring that frequency of peace onto them. So that's the influence that we carry. Does that answer your question, Alexandria? All right, we'll go to Helena.
Yes, so much.
Thank you. Helena?
Hi.
Helena Rose, hi.
You earlier said that God protects you, and
Yes.
I've over the years I've had maybe a dozen times where I've actually either seen, heard, or felt something before it happens, and then I'm protected from in all those instances I could have been killed unless I was given this sign. And I've always
Yep.
wondered, is that because I spoke to my mother about this and she said that's your angels protecting you. So is that who they are? Because I've always wondered why I was shown or heard or seen or felt things before that, put me out of danger. Paths
Out of harm.
danger.
Yep, understand. And yes, absolutely. Remember, the angels are, work on God's behalf. We all have protection. We all have angels. But your spirit is also connecting with God to warn you. Right? That intuition. People go, oh, that's my intuition. It's actually their spirit that is, connecting to them and letting them know that, there's something wrong around the corner. And yes, I think most of us would sit there and have, lots of stories about how we've been protected. I've had a situation where I heard an audible voice yell, stop. And if I was parked at a red light, and guys, if the light's green, I go. And the light turned green, and all of a sudden I heard this voice that went, stop. And I didn't move, and this car went through their red light. If I had have driven out, I would not be here today. It would have been a full-on impact. And as the car went through the red light, I was like, oh, wow. And then it was, okay, you can go now. So it's just, lean into that, Helena. Lean into, and listen to that and go with that, because that is God guiding and directing you. And that's that's awesome. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yes, because it just comes out of the blue.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always wondered because in hindsight, when you see what eventuates, you know, if you had have not listened to what, I suppose, yes, your gut feeling, you know, you could have been killed, seriously hurt or killed, you
Yep.
know, because,
Yep.
and I don't know, the very first time it happened was when I was probably 7 years old, and it was the time my younger sister got killed, and I saw the maypole before we were put on it because we were waiting for our auntie to lift us up onto the maypole. I could see the maypole moving from side to side, and I just thought it was my imagination. But then when I was on the maypole and swinging around with my sister, I got this urgent feeling to jump off, and I screamed out to my sister, you know, Tina, jump off. And as
Yep.
I said that, I jumped off. But before I jumped off, I heard her say, no, I'm scared. And I jumped off and landed in a bush on the ground. And then when I got up, the maypole had snapped at the base and had landed on top of my sister, who'd fallen on the ground across her back. But she,
Oh,
you
dear.
know, she passed away about half an hour after that. But that was the first time I remember, you know, and since then, maybe I've got to write them down because I can't remember, at least another 10 times similar things have happened. So, and I just always have thought, well, how does that work? You know, that you get either you feel things or you actually see things or you hear things before,
Yep.
you know, it actually something.
Yep. And that's what we're designed. That's how God designed us. We are designed to be able to see around corners, is what I call it, and get, you know, the more we listen to it, the more that grows, the more that we start to be more aware, not just major incidences, but on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah. Thank you for sharing that. But
Thank you,
that
Dottie.
yeah, no, thank you. So, you know, these are all we all have it. That's the most amazing thing, is we all have this. We have this connection, but we've been programmed out of it and been programmed into fear and limitations. And, you know, we've all been put in a box. Everything about our life is a box, and we've got to break that box. You know, like I've led, you know, a couple of hundred people with, I told them all bring a cardboard box, and got them all to go into a decree and declaration of ripping that box, breaking those limitations. Sometimes we've got to do things in the natural so that it becomes then also evident in the spiritual, and vice versa. We do things in the spiritual, then it can then affect the natural. And that's why, you know, if people are reacting to you, just calm the farm. Just calm down, guys. Like, just settle. Or you can bind it. If it's something that's really aggressive, you can bind that spirit. And that's another subject, guys, that we can talk about at another time, is binding and loosing, and understanding the principle of that, because it's a spiritual law. So yeah, so any other questions, guys? So just a quick summary then. Indicators of leveling up is your increase in the hunger of truth of God, your overall awareness of surroundings start to come into place, your increase in your sense of your intuition and your, you know, hearing God and tapping into your gut feeling, your discernment, the awareness of energies and frequencies, of entities, of spiritual presence, knowing whether they're good or whether it's God. We often don't, I find a lot of people just gravitate to the negative. It's like, there's demons everywhere, but they never acknowledge the presence of God. And I'm like, I'd just rather sit on the presence of God myself, because whatever that negative stuff is, it supersedes it. It overrides it. And also having insight into people's agendas, reading their heart, whether they're there to do you harm, whether they're there to, that they're really on the same page with you. And that, again, is another subject that, often you see people's hearts, but I give them a chance, but I still pay the price for that because they'll still try to undo me. And I've had to go, you know what, I'm not doing that anymore, in the sense that it's like they've got to go away and grow. That's why we can't come from, okay, everyone get on the same page, because we're all at different levels. The one page that we need to be on is that we all come from a heart of love and that we do no harm. It's like treat others as you yourself would be treated. If you come from that premise, it supersedes everything else that's going on. Increase in your confidence, the realization of who you are, processing. Take the time to sit and process, your growth. Look at how much you've grown, how much you're not reacting or responding in the wrong way, but you are in the right way. The increase of your knowledge, of your authority, knowing who you are. And then also seeing the breakthroughs in your declarations and in your decrees, seeing answers to and bringing solutions. You'll see more and more of that happening. And all of these increase are indicators of you growing, not only spiritually, but in your relationship with God and in your relationship with others. So thank you. Thank you for being here this morning, and we'll see what we come up with for next week, what the Spirit wants to do. Hey, Hans and Lisa, how are you going?
Would have done better.
You look really different in this light.
Yes, we have a different computer now. We're sitting next to each other, right?
Yeah, we always
Yeah.
are.
No,
It's a different
normally
room.
we are in a different room, but the computer didn't start up, so we had to do this one. And we were interfered with by people who wanted our attention. So yeah.
Oh.
Let's put it that way. We had a bit of an escalation with our neighbors earlier this week
Yeah.
on an issue with sewage smell.
Yeah.
And today we had a plumber unexpectedly drop in on us, stating, "Well, actually, it's not your fault at all."
Yeah, we already knew that, but our neighbors are accusing of us of
Yeah.
what we
Yeah,
told
you
you.
you told me that.
Yeah, the
So
issue
what-
was everything. So we actually got the middle finger of the lady next to us. So we thought, oh, now it's time to really do something about it, right? Because we thought, oh, it's not our problem. But now we actually, yeah. So we applied the stuff that you provided, and also Jesse, right? So I anointed some oil and I did some water and tried to put this in the, what is it? In the
And
toilet, etc., to spread it and to ask the God
also anoint the
to
sewage
God,
system.
intervention, because this is bigger than we are, right? And we don't want that have to, or this, because this morning there were several people from health department and 2 plumbers and also one from the council, and they were all going. I said, oh Jesus, this is going everywhere, right? They will be going here. And before this was already escalated the day before yesterday. So we're actually pretty exhausted because of all those energy that is sucking out of us. And we are in between 2 people who don't believe that we did the expertise on our property. We had 4 people over here who said, well, it's not your fault, you cannot help it. It just the pipe just does what it has to do, right? So then actually they don't believe it or so, I don't know. But we think it's a stronghold, the Leviathan stronghold of the waterways, we don't know. So actually we want your prayers over it, guys, if it is possible. So get rid of
Well, the
Oh, the-
council and the government's come in and said that it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Yeah, but they felt harassed because this lady next to us is a real, what is it? Pain.
The venomous one.
Yeah, it's a venomous one. She
Okay,
came
we'll
with-
bind her.
yeah, we did. But actually,
yeah.
she like that. She doesn't hear. We gave her the trespass. We said you trespass, and we did this 3 times, so she had to go, but she didn't. So actually, Hans was about to throw her out. But yeah, if Hans throws somebody out, yeah, you know, because if you ask her to leave and she doesn't,
Have you
go,
got trespass signs up?
we
No,
just wrote
no,
one,
no.
right?
We
trespass
don't
notice, yeah.
have them up.
Yeah, but actually it is, we don't, what is it? We don't want to be rude or so, but actually we
No,
don't
but
want,
you can put everyone should have no trespass signs on their houses.
yeah. So yeah, that's perhaps the lesson we have to learn. But if there is a problem and we can solve it, we will. But that actually what they suppose isn't what they actually want to do us. Is because they say your pipe is stinking, there comes smells out of it, and now they want another pipe on another toilet. So I said, if it smells once, why should you put another pipe? Then it smells twice, right? But they don't get it. So and then the next step will be that we have a 3rd pipe or so. I don't know.
No, I think that in spiritual realm, our opponents get a sense of what we are doing and trying to get us removed from this area.
From this area, so we pray
So it's
for
going to
another
be a
area.
spiritual attack
Yes.
at the back of it, and that's what we're working on.
Yeah. So if we have a better place to go, then we will. But actually, we're not in a very convenient spot now, I guess. It's kind of triangle, right, against us or so. You know what I mean?
Simply breaking all the curses, we are binding all the negative energy, casting out the demons, and loosen the angels in support.
Yeah. So perhaps
Yep.
we do something wrong. I don't know, but we don't want to harm people or whatever. We just want to get.
So that's just the short of it on what we've been going through over
Oh
the
yeah,
last
actually
week.
they were coming in as 5 minutes before your session, so we thought, oh, now we cannot follow the Dordy, right? But we had to go over there, so yeah. This is
That's
a bit
all
what
right.
happened to us. So the energy, perhaps you see it, it's not that good, or perhaps it is, I don't know. It's just that we, you know what I mean? So it could be better. Yeah, actually. But we had a good conversation, so that's also clearing the air a bit, like pointing out where we are, pointing out where they are, etc. But it's not helping us very much. So yeah, actually it is us against the government, I guess. It's the Ministry of Health. So I said perhaps it's mental health that has to.
It is us against the spiritual wickedness.
Yes, spiritual wickedness. Oh, the wickedness. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is. It's really
So,
making use of her to abuse us or so. I don't know. Yeah.
so sorry for being late.
Yeah. But that's a bit. So if we
Alrighty.
fixed it out, we're happy.
Well, we're finished now.
We're finished now. Yeah. We're finished now. So sorry for keeping you. What is it? Busy with that problem of us. But no, yeah.
Well, the most important thing is that you keep handing it over to God and asking God for the solution, and then decreeing and declaring that, and just bind all the, because sometimes God is doing something as well through it. So,
Exactly.
you know, it's like he might be moving you on to something better. And this is where you stay at peace.
Yeah.
Really important to stay at peace and just hand it over. And if you go, God, we don't understand this situation. This is how I talk to him. God, I don't understand this, but can you please show me what's going on? And then let it go. And then he'll wake you up at 3 a.m. and he'll go, this is what's happening. And you'll go, now we get it. Good job.
Adding to that quickly, earlier this week, I had a vision in a dream where we were somehow in possession, for lack of a better word, of a pretty good piece of land.
Okay,
Another than this.
Different from
No.
this section, but another section.
Yep.
More visible. So that was the vision, and it felt very good.
very fair enough. Because the thing is, even if you go, the problem's still going to be there.
Yep.
So they're just, it's all rubbish. That's what it
Yep.
is.
That's it.
All right,
yeah.
guys, I've got to go because I've got another appointment. Love you all, and we'll see you next week.
Yes,
Hope you
next
enjoyed
week.
today, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. If they haven't killed us, we will be there.
Nah, we will be there. Thank you all.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
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 Bye. Bye,
Love you.
Gil.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
Emily. Bye,
you.
Mel. Jane, Beth, Helena, Alexandria. See you, darling.